Hello, everybody. I'm Raika Zetapchi, director, producer. I work a lot in the branded space, and I am so excited to be a member, actually, on the selection committee for Brand Storytelling 2024. I'm also going to be moderating today's discussion for the short film titled The Ballad of Tita and the Machines, a fantastic short film, which is one of the selections in the short film category this year. Just want to say congratulations to this team. I know a couple of you. Fantastic achievement. The competition was very tough this year. And this is such a unique film because it's also a narrative film, one of the only narrative films in the short film category that was selected, which is very exciting, especially when you're thinking of it from a brand perspective. So before we dive into our discussion, just would love for everyone to go around and introduce themselves and just very quickly the role that they played in this very special project. Maybe we'll start with our filmmaker, Miguel.
Hi, I'm Miguel, and I am the co-writer and director of The Ballad of Tita and the Machine.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Aidan McLaughlin. I represent Indeed. I'm the director of our ESG brand, but I represent a whole team of Indeedians who are behind the scenes helping with Rising Voices and who believe in this project. So I'm delighted to be here today and hand it over to you, Rishi.
Awesome. And I'm Rishi Rajani. I am the CEO of Hillman Grad, who's a very proud partner of the program with Indeed and with 271 Films. And it's been a pleasure getting to work on it for the last several years, but an extra special pleasure to be one of the executive producers of The Ballad of Tita and the Machines.
Awesome. Well, this is brand storytelling. So I wanted to start with the brand. Aidan, you can take this one. Rising Voices, super unique program. I've had the pleasure also of being a mentor in the Rising Voices program a couple years ago. Can you just tell me about where this started and why would a brand like Indeed want to create a program like this?
So, well, Indeed as a brand, our mission is to help people get jobs. And, part of that is ensuring that we can create better work for all. And as part of that, we understand that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And Rising Voices was born out of that idea. And in the wake of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests, our CEO, Chris Himes, who is just a champion of our ESG initiatives and the social impact that Indeed is having, he came to us with a challenge to take, the budget that we might spend on a TV ad and do something different and try and find and fund storytelling from voices who are not necessarily always heard from. And so the idea originally was to take 30 filmmakers and fund them a small amount of money to create a TV spot. And we had that crazy idea. We didn't know if it was going to work. And we went and really realized that we are not experts in the field of entertainment, and we needed to find a partner who could help guide us, who understood the space, who understood storytelling. And that's where we met Rishi and Lena and started talking to Hillman Grad. And I might just lend it over to Rishi just to take it from there, because when we came to Rishi with this idea of investing in lots of people a small amount of money and seeing what emerged from that's how we think about innovating our product, which is incubating small bets, and then the ones that are starting to work put more money in and incubating those into big ideas. And when we came to Rishi with that idea, your immediate reaction, Rishi, was, we love the thinking, but let's try and do it differently. So I might just hand it over to you to pick up from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny because at Hillman Grad, and we were actually thinking, when we think about brand, right? Our brand has been very much entirely focused on supporting underrepresented filmmakers and being able to build a platform to tell their stories. And within that context, also breaking new filmmakers into the industry, utilizing kind of the power of film and television. And so when we had first heard that Indeed was even interested in this program, I think it was really exciting to us because it's very rare to get a company that's actually willing to, put their money where their mouth is and actually want to build a program that is effective. But even more rare than a company and a brand coming to you with an idea that is such a generous idea focused on the next generation of artists. It's even, like I said, it's even more rare for a brand to listen when you have feedback on a proposal. And the fact that we were able to go back to Indeed and make the suggestion around giving 10 filmmakers a little bit more money to really make something that could be a calling card for them as really, effectively a resume for a filmmaker to be able to break into the industry, get their first jobs, get their first opportunities. And for Aiden and Chris and LaFon and the whole team over there to say yes to us was huge. It was like a massive, I think, kind of pivotal moment for us as a company. And I can't believe we're in year 4 of it now, because the amount of filmmakers, now that you look at the first 30 filmmakers who are getting their starts, going off to make their first feature film, becoming producing directors on television shows, directing episodes of TV, getting agents, getting managers, getting commercial gigs, getting music video gigs for gigantic artists. It's really exciting, productive. And I think we're showing the industry, and in many ways, like all the other brands that exist out there, that there are different ways of getting your brand name out that actually, provides a service that is so desperately needed to the artist community.
That's fantastic. And, one thing that I think is so special about this program is the mentorship aspect of it, right? It's not just enough to create opportunities for filmmakers that are just starting out. Filmmakers need mentorship. They need help and guidance while they navigate their careers and they navigate this very complicated industry. So my question is for you, Miguel. What was that process like of working with a mentor? And is it something that you found to be very helpful or valuable for you throughout the process of making your film?
Yeah, Rising Voices is by far the greatest program that I've ever done. And I've done several programs as a filmmaker. And the thing with Rising Voices is that it's set up, first of all, with a whole network of supporters with 271 Films, Hillman Grad, and Indeed. And I felt supported as a filmmaker. And then we have mentors that are there with us and guide us along the way. Any question that we have before we film, during production, after production. So I never really felt alone. And I felt that, even the budget of the film, it was a very, handsome budget that we got to be able to execute the vision that I had for the film. And a lot of programs that I've heard of or I've done in the past, they are sort of a bit out of touch of what it really takes to make a film. And I feel like this program really saw it from beginning to end. So we had a development process where we were getting notes to strengthen and deepen our screenplay and the characters. And for pre-production, we were very supported, and I was in constant contact with my mentor, and then production and even post-production for the editing process. So it was sort of like a I would say like it emulated how Hollywood works. So for me as a filmmaker, I've never had this experience of really going through all these steps of development, of pre-production, of production, of post-production, and really having a team of executives and all our goal is to create one of the best projects that we can. So for me, working with mentorship, not just my mentors assigned to me, but the mentorship that the program has as well, was just invaluable. Like, it was one of the best experiences that I've had as a filmmaker.
That's amazing to hear. It's very, very unique to have to be in a position as a filmmaker, speaking as a filmmaker myself, to be in a position where you are sitting in the director's seat, working with a brand and actually feeling empowered, empowered and excited to share your voice. in collaboration with partners, but in a way that really does uplift you and your creative voice. I wanted to talk a little bit about the prompt, right? Because at the end of the day, this starts with Indeed, right? So I want to understand a little bit the thinking around building a prompt for filmmakers, and maybe that starts with you, Aiden, and then I'd love to hear Miguel's perspective on the other side.
Well, so I think again, this goes back to the inception of the program, and there's a quote that has just stuck with me since the start. That is one of Lena's, and like Rishi and I steal Lena's quotes all the time because she's always coming out with like killer lines. But this one is, "We can't see the world clearly until we see it through everyone's eyes," and that really was the idea behind the beginnings of Rising Voices. Indeed, is the world's largest marketplace for people to come together and find work, and work is survival, work is dignity, work is empowerment. And yet, who gets to tell the stories of work? Who gets to shape how different people are seen in different work situations and work environments? And so as a brand, we are storytellers, and we are trying to put stories of work out into the world. And yet there was this seismic shift. And when we realized, hang on a second, Hollywood gets to, I was on the Warner Brothers lot recently with Rishi, and one thing that struck me was like in this little space in LA, a lot of the world's ideas about what's cool, what's meaningful, what's important was created in this small space. And not everybody gets that opportunity, going back to opportunity again. And so what we needed to do was give a prompt, which in year one and year two was the meaning of work, and then listen to the storytellers. And I think that's the tension when you get into branded film, is the need for brands to control. And yet, if you want to listen, you have to let go of control. And so the prompt was, we want to hear from BIPOC storytellers what the meaning of work is. And we worked a lot, Rishi, we went back and forth on like how much to give as a prompt, how little to give, how much space do we give? And year one and year two as a test. Year 3 and 4, we switched it to the future of work, and that Miguel really took that brief and ran with it and created magic out of it. But it was our job to set the tone, to set the context, and then to step away and listen. And so there were notes, but Indeed didn't give notes. We read the 800 scripts that get submitted every year. We read everything, and then we get down and we have fights over who the final 10 should be. And then we step away and leave it to Hillman and 271, the filmmakers, to bring their vision, because there's no point in us controlling the output if this is Rising Voices, if this is a listening exercise to communities who need to help us shape the future of work, and not just go to the successful directors or the think tanks, the McKinseys, and ask them what the future of work is. Let's go to the people who actually have both the creative vision and the need to share what is meaningful to them. So the prompt is a small thing, but I actually think it's incredibly important to the whole program.
I think it also, like, because I think we've gone back and forth on it a bunch, it also provides, I think, a very helpful sandbox to play in. And I think when you're a filmmaker that's just starting out on your journey, and Miguel, I think you can speak to this probably in a lot of ways, but like sometimes you just, you need something to help guide that initial direction on a script. And whether it be a prompt, a conceit, a concept, an idea, for you to then go in and execute at the highest level. And I think what we've also found is that being able to execute on a prompt, or what we call, very much in the industry, like an open writing assignment or an open directing assignment, is really powerful. And again, one of those teaching mechanisms for how to come into the industry and how to execute on a vision like that too.
Yeah,
just, Miguel, just before Miguel jumps in, I remember reading Miguel's script for Tita and just saying, oh my, like being incredibly excited and like projecting myself to Tribeca watching it on the screen. So it is amazing, both the variety, but also to see somebody wrestle with the prompt and then come up with something incredibly meaningful. That's, part of the, that's a bit how the sausage is made. But like, I love that moment where you read something, you're like, oh wow, that is just you immediately visualize what the director was trying to communicate. So sorry, Miguel, I jumped over there, but I was just so excited. Like you really you brought that to life.
Yeah. No, and it was for me, it was such a wonderful experience. I'm a queer Mexican American, son of immigrants who were farm workers. So, not these stories are not stories that you actually see on the screen, all the time. So for me to be able to really tell a story with my own gaze, what I see, and for it to be championed, for it to be produced, for it to be taken on, to be able to see my own perspectives, my lived experiences on the big screen, it was just incredible. And also, not many people in Hollywood are writing stories for a 65-year-old indigenous looking Latina woman. And for Hillman Grad and Indeed and 271 to be able to take this film, I spoke to the lead actress, and I've talked to Aiden about this as well, and I've mentioned it a few times. But when we were prepping for the film, she said, I've been in this business for 40 some years, and this short film is my first leading role. And it made me excited, but also very sad, because she said, just Hollywood doesn't write stories for women that look like me. And the fact that we are able to create these roles for leading women who are 65 years old, and a story that's super engaging, that takes place in the future, for me, it was just such a gift to be able to bring this vision to the screen.
And a beautiful film it was, beautifully executed. So happy to see a film like this, honestly, and so happy to see that you were also able to have the resources at your disposal to really execute your vision in a very thoughtful and elevated way. Some of the the VFX, and it was just very, very thoughtfully executed. So congratulations on doing that. It really is a very big achievement. I'd love to also touch on the life of the film once it's released, or the life after the film, distribution, exhibition, because that's another part of the process that is often overlooked when we're talking about short films, when we're talking about starting out in your career. Aiden and Rishi, I'd love to hear from you both, just about this relationship with Tribeca, and how you have structured the distribution for Rising Voices.
Yeah, I think so. Again, we are improving every year in terms of distribution, and it was initially Tribeca was so important as a partner for us, because it gave us a moment in time to bring everybody together to celebrate these films on screen. But we also realized that Tribeca was a great platform to connect our directors to industry, to outside audiences, to other filmmakers. And so Tribeca has become the moment of celebration, but really just the launch pad, the beginning. Like, in some ways, it's the end of the creation of the films, but it's just the beginning of the journey. And so one of the things that we found great success is a partnership with Screen Vision, and to show the Rising Voices trailers and the films themselves in theaters across the US. The other great thing about doing the screenings with Screen Vision is that it qualifies all of the films for Oscar consideration, and part of Tita's journey has been really embracing that and getting more audiences on that. We were very lucky this year to coincide our cinema buy with Barbenheimer, so the audience numbers are incredibly good, and we've had great sort of ad attention figures and perception shifts and UAC lifts for the program itself. So that has been a real successful combination. But what's also, and I wanted Miguel and Rishi to talk about this as well, but the festivals that are picking these films up, the successes, as Rishi touched on, these shorts being turned into feature films, like, we're still seeing impact from season 1 today, and we are seeing impact from season 3 today. And so it's this incredible butterfly effect, and we are still trying to wrap our arms around, there's 2,000 people have been given jobs in cast and crew through the 3 seasons, and we'll add to that in season 4, who are going on to have impact in other programs and other films. And there's a community being created through the program that I think will last on long into the future. And we haven't even begun to see the impact of Rising Voices really as this program unfolds. So I think it's like we can purchase through our media buys a platform for these films to get out into the world, but then they take a life of their own beyond that. And I think that for us, the films are incredible brand assets, and they communicate the stories and visions for a future of work that we can, which is a visions for a better future of work. But the real story is what happens next for the filmmakers and for these films themselves. And so that's what really excites me about the program. And, I spend a lot of my time following everyone on Instagram and checking updates and doing Google searches for all the film titles and the people who are involved, just to see the long tail of that. Risha, I'd be interested in your perspective. But for me, there's the brand actions and there's the metrics for Indeed itself in terms of those perception shifts and UAC lifts, and we're really cracking that piece of it. But for me, it's seeing things like what's happening with Tita and all the awards and festival selections, but also just what's happening with Gabby and Ortega and Huella and being turned into a feature film. Like, these things we could never have predicted those impacts when we started the project off.
I think, by the way, I just have to say that I think Aiden is being a little modest over there. The Indeed team has been absolutely incredible on the distribution front. And quite frankly, I think so many filmmakers, producers of color, things that we've seen personally at Hillman Grad, we get put in diversity programs, and the diversity programs end, and then there's nothing that comes after that. And there's no access, there's no opportunity, there's no follow-up, there's no mentorship, there's no community that's built. And Indeed has done such an incredible job of being the antithesis of that, and actually caring about the filmmakers, actually supporting us after Tribeca. I mean, even the sort of the intentionality behind putting the movies up in movie theaters, to be supporting every single festival entry, to be doing screenings all over the country at other festivals. It's been incredible to witness, and I think so appreciated, because it represents a different kind of commitment from the brand to the ongoing careers of all the filmmakers involved. And so I say, Aiden, like, I mean, for you and the Indeed team to do that, and to be doing that on a year-round basis, is just something that I've never seen from another brand. And it's something that I know is just genuinely so appreciated from all of us.
Miguel, how about you? What's where are you in your journey now that the film has been released? I'm sure there's a lot of attention on the film, and I hear an Oscar's push. I'm curious, what is next for you?
So we premiered in June, and it feels like it's been a year ago, even though it's been 5 months. And I feel that the journey of the short film is just beginning. We've gone to 8 festivals. We've won, I believe, 5 awards for the film. And actually, this is all because of the film and because of the network that Rising Voices brings together. I signed with a manager that was present at the Rising Voices screening in June. And had this screening not happened, I wouldn't have a manager. So I signed with a manager, and he's been sending me out on meetings. It's been, now that the strike is over, it's been excellent. We were kind of on pause, obviously, during the strike, but now in the last few weeks, we've been going to meetings, and my co-writer and I, because of all the notoriety that it's getting, the recognition that it's getting, we started working on the feature film. So we hope to have a feature film written early next year. And like Rishi said, Aiden and the entire Indeed team put the film for 2 weeks in theaters to be Oscar qualified. So our film screening before Blue Beetle, which was just incredible. Like, I had family and friends attend these screenings, and it's been a wild ride. And I feel like it's still kind of, we're at the maybe mid run of our festival. We still have you know, a lot of other festivals that we start hearing from in January, February, and March. So I think where I'm at 5 years into the release, it is beyond my wildest dreams that I would be with a manager, that there'd be so much interest in the short film and in the short film as a feature film. So I think it's very exciting to see what this new year brings. And this is all thanks to Rising Voices.
That is amazing. I love hearing it. Would you have made this film if it weren't for Rising Voices?
Absolutely not. I would have the as a director, The Ballad of Tita and the Machines is my fourth short. So as a director, I also produce a lot of my work previously before The Ballad of Tita and the Machine. So, you know, when I write and when I write with my co-writer something that I'm going to direct, I'm very conscious of the budget and what we can and can't do. So we kind of back up into a budget of what we could do. With this prompt of, you know, what does the future of look like? Like we just kind of did not censor ourselves and we just went for it. And we thought this is going to be very ambitious and intense. And then we got selected and we're like, oh, wow. Like, and as a director, I was like, how am I going to make this work now? But yes, had it not been for this program, I would have not written the film that we have.
That's fantastic. And I will say, as a director, my favorite thing is to receive an open brief with a sort of high level prompt, because I think Rishi, you said it best, it's like a perfect sandbox for you to play in. Does anyone have any other thoughts they want to share, or any fun stories or tidbits?
Well, I just want to again go back to like reading Miguel's script and like so this was last year where like there was this talk of AI and there was talk of like, oh, what's going to happen with technology, and there was some anxiety. And so when we selected it, we felt like that's an interesting take on AI. And we think it'll be interesting, but nobody could have predicted just the explosion of ChatGPT and OpenAI and all of that Silicon Valley push for new technology. And in the background, Miguel and the team were telling this story that was just so specific, but also so universal. And the hero of that story was not the tech titan or the technology, but the humanity of the human. And I think when that film was shown on the screen at Tribeca, you could feel an exhalation of the audience to say, oh, we all identified with Tita. And I think that is the power of a brief like that, where we care about work. And I can't kind of sort of emphasize enough in that, this is not a diversity program. It's a program about unearthing incredible talent. And so Miguel getting a manager and everything that's happening is nothing to do with Indeed. That's Miguel's talent. We just provided the stage, the opportunity for that. But also, to me and for Indeed, this is a listening exercise. We learn more about what we need to do in the world of work and the impact we need to be conscious of through Rising Voices than a lot of the things that we do. And so, every year I'm just more excited about the stories that emerge through Rising Voices, whether it's stories about climate change or loneliness or hope or fear. We need to pay attention to the storytellers, because they're the ones who show us the cliff edge. And in many ways, Tita did that in a way that was humorous and fun, but also the message was so strong. I don't know, Miguel, do you want to talk about what happened at the latest screening in LA, who showed up for the movie? Because I think it's testament to the power of the film.
That's amazing. So as I mentioned before, my parents were farm workers most of their lives, and so were my two oldest siblings. In fact, during the casting of extras for the film, I had a long conversation with the producers, and I told them I don't really want to cast extras. I want to go into the community and find real workers and hire them and pay them to come on set, because I really want it to be authentic. So I also met with the labor union director at UCLA. I met with a few organizations in Oxnard, and we had a combination. So everybody that you see in the film that is a worker, except the two lead actors, is either son or daughter of field workers or field workers themselves, or in the case of my brother and my sister, retired field workers. So, my family has worked the fields all their lives. And then flash forward to an academy screening we had here at the Chinese Theater about a month back. I go into the Q&A and I look out, and we have Dolores Huerta in the audience, who's the 93-year-old civil rights leader who, with Cesar Chavez, was involved with the grape strike. And it was such a kind of full circle moment because my mother marched with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. My mother passed away now, and her name was Tita. The film is a bit of an homage to her. And I'm sitting in front of this iconic civil rights leader watching a film about strawberry pickers and farm workers, and she was the one leading the marches where my family marched in. So it was such a beautiful full circle moment that happened.
That is so beautiful. My gosh, that's so I would have freaked out if I met Dolores Huertas.
I did too. And
So
she's got energy. It was like 11 p.m. and I'm like, I gotta go home. I'm tired. And she was just chatting away, 93 years old and full of energy and life. She's got such a beautiful soul.
amazing. Well, that's a wonderful full circle moment to end on. Thank you all for this incredible program. Aiden, Rishi, thank you for putting your heads together and creating this program with the Indeed Hillman Grad 271 teams. And Miguel, thank you for your creative voice. Honestly, I cannot wait for your film, for your feature film, or any other films that you create along your journey. And I'm so grateful for this program. So thanks all, and congratulations again on this wonderful achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We hope many other brands follow Indeed's lead on this. I think it's very necessary and very needed.